Higarth, curious what you think would happen if we do get a new edition of Warcry, but it doesn't have compendium access, more like Kill Team. I guess the other way of thinking about it is, do we value list building more or the core rules more? Okay, so core rules are fantastic for Warcry. They're great. If the rules for Warcry stayed the same, right, or got very minor updates, I'm talking like, there are things that you can clean up in the core rules of Warcry, and we went to a kill team style building approach where there isn't really any list building and there's a little bit of flexibility in the kind of teams that you can have, and it's done basically as a sacrifice to get more balance. That's the whole argument, right? Is that you can't balance the game because there are way too many fighters. I disagree with that, but it's an argument, and it's the chief argument that people say on kill team list building versus Warcry list building, right? So let's say it went to that. Would I play the game? Yes, I would play the game because the core rules for Warcry I think are fantastic, and I would still play it because I play it ultimately for the rules. Yes, I play it partially for the skill expression, but I love the rules. So I play that. It's the whole reason why I don't play Kill Team at the moment. It's not because there are fixed teams. I don't play Kill Team because I think there's way too much rules played. So give me Warcry, give me more Warcry, and I play it. Would it alienate a lot of people? Most definitely, because there are totally people who play Warcry because they love the team building aspects. And it would alienate people, most definitely it would. There are voices in the community that basically say that any reduction in any restriction in how we build lists at the moment would basically cause them to leave because they want to play as much stuff as possible. And I totally understand that point of view because for 3 years now, let's face it, the current rule system with allies and all this kind of thing is the way that in the core book they tell you to play. I know a lot of people don't play like that, and they all only play one box warbands. I know a lot of people like playing one box warbands, but ultimately it's baked into the rules where you have your allies and you do all this stuff. Would the game be richer or poorer for that? I think it would be different. I don't necessarily think it would be richer or poorer. Would I think there are a couple of ways that Games Workshop could go. If they went in that direction and they said, all right, well, compendium is gone, it's only going to be bespoke warbands, or there's going to be a very limited allied pool or whatever, I think it does give the opportunity to give warbands more of their own flavor. But one of the biggest criticisms that a lot of people had of Warcry, especially early in this edition, I think, was that warbands basically look the same. And in some places, like some areas in the world, they kind of still do, where you got your big smashy guy, you got your chaff, whatever's the best big smashy guy is whatever the best big smashy guy is, whatever your chaff are is whatever the chaff are. Warbands kind of play the same, and they kind of do that. Now, there are a lot of warbands that have their own distinct playstyle. A lot of those specifically are bespoke warbands. So, for example, any of those warbands that kind of work by themselves as a one-box bespoke, not as a one-box bespoke, but work like by themselves mechanically. So I think stuff like Warhammer Punters, they have their own specific playstyle, and it kind of works. Now, if that was extended to all of the warbands, that's something I think I would enjoy, where every warband had its own playstyle, and you could really find something that you wanted to play. But it does mean that I couldn't basically do the things that I do, where I build a warband to do a specific thing. I look for all sorts of different fighters, and yeah, the list building would definitely suffer. So, right, I'm kind of rambling here about it because I don't think there's a specific right or wrong answer, because some things will appeal to some people and some things will appeal to other people. I would continue to play Warcry anyway because the rule set is that good, and it's basically the only rule set that Games Workshop produces that I want to play today. So as long as the rule set stayed the same, I would still play it. Would I be sorry for the loss of list building? Yes, most definitely. Is that enough to stop me from playing the game? Absolutely not. That's kind of where I stand on that. On Games Workshop standpoint, it's how much do you want to alienate the existing player base, and is that worth the new players that you think you're going to get? And that's the calculation that Games Workshop has to do. They say, all right, we get rid of Compendium tomorrow, we redesign this, we do this is how it's going to be. How many players will we lose versus how many players will we get? And personally, I don't think that they need to do that, because players who play Warcry today enjoy playing Warcry today, and Warcry as a game, the Warcry sales, let's for argument's sake, the Warcry sales aren't bad because bespoke warbands, but because Compendium exists. Well, they are in a way, right? But like, people aren't not playing bespokes because Compendium exists. They're not playing bespokes because the recent 4 bespokes were kind of bad, if you get me. So I think that Games Workshop doesn't need to implement such a radical design change to how you build warbands in order to get new players. I think that if a new edition were to come around, you could basically have it as you are now, but with a much more pared back roster. I don't think like half the fighters in the roster, I don't necessarily think need to be there. You could do that, not alienate your existing players, and still pick up the new players, because the merit of Warcry is the game system itself and not just the list building, if you get me. They don't need to remove Compendium to improve the bespokes. Exactly. That's it. Right? They just need effort. They just need to make the bespokes better. And I've been saying this since day one, by the way, that bespokes should be better than Compendium teams. Right? And okay, yeah, if a bespoke warband is only going to have like 4 or 5 different choices, those 4 or 5 different choices should be really good, and they should be better than Compendium teams, because ultimately you're playing Warcry, you want to play with those fancy Warcry models, and all the Warcry models are great, right? I don't necessarily care to play with, here is Dwarf Sky Pirate number 874 that looks like all the other Dwarf Sky Pirates, right? Yes. They need to put more effort into bespokes. That's it. Long and the short of it.